I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on apostrophes. All right, so we are going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 8, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of apostrophes. All right, so we said our chapter is apostrophes. Our subject is English Language Arts, grade 8. And our lesson for today is, or lessons, is to identify and correct errors with compound or joint sentences, and to identify and correct errors with plural and possessive nouns. All right, so a possessive noun, right? A possessive noun either shows who or it shows what owns something. So a possessive noun shows either who or it shows what owns something, right? That's a possessive noun. And in order for us to form possessives, right, or compound, or to form possessive of a compound noun, we need to make either the last part of the noun possessive. All right. So if we look at these words, right, so we're going to use these words and we're going to identify or see how we can form a possessive form the possessive of a compound noun, right? And remember when we use a or make a compound noun or something, then the last word, right, or the last part of the noun, that is the noun or the word that we, for example, put the apostrophe and the in and the s. All right, so if we look at the first one, it says my sister-in-law's career. It means that it belongs to her, right? Which is the sister-in-law. So we can say the first one is my sister-in-law's career. So whose career? My sister-in-law's, right? Because it's hers, it's her career, it's her choice. Then the Secretary of State's speech. All right. And then we have another one, which is the Chief of Staff's legacy. The Chief of Staff's legacy, right? So whose legacies? It is the Chief of Staff. And remember when we add an apostrophe in S, right? All right. And then we have another one that says my great grandmother's name. My great grandmother's names. Right? So whose names are we talking about? We're talking about my great grandmother. And once again, if we just look at all of these words, right? The last word of a compound sentence or compound noun is apostrophe and is. All right. And when two nouns, right? So when two nouns are joined by the conjunction and, then they share position of something, right? So when two nouns are then joined by and, which is our coordinating conjunction, then only the second noun should be written as a possessive noun. All right. And then we have Baker and Lily's, right? Just look at that example. It's like where we say Baker and Lily's room is larger than mine. And we say that when two nouns are joined by the word and, then they share a position of something. They share it, it's them together. All right. And then the second noun should be written as a possessive noun. Now, here we have bigger and Lily's rooms is larger than mine. All right, and we see that when two nouns, they if they're joined by the word and they do not share a possession of something, then both nouns should be written as a possessive noun. So we say that when two nouns are joined by and they do not share something, possession of something, then both nouns should be written as a possessive noun. And if we have an example, look at the last one. It says Baker's and Lily's rooms are larger than mine. And that means that Baker and Lily each have their own room because it says Baker's and Lily's. It's making mention of per person. All right. And here where we say Baker and Lily's, right? It means that both of those rooms belongs to them. They share a room. And that is why we say Baker and Lily's. The second one then has to use the apostrophe. All right. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca and we're going to identify the correct words with the compound noun and joint position. All right. So we then mention also that once again, mother-in-laws over here, right? It is something that you need to All right. And we see that when it comes to possessive nouns, a possessive nouns, it shows either who, so possessive nouns, it shows either who or shows what owns something or has something. That is possessive nouns. It shows either who owns something or it shows who has something. And in order for us to form a possessive, right, of a compound noun, we need to make the last part of the noun possessive. And then we made a few examples of the words that we see on the screen. All right. So now we need to click the correct, we need to click to correct the text if needed, right? It says mother's in-law. My mother's in-law home is directly across the street from ours. Fortunately, we have a good relationship with her and we all enjoy spending time together. And if we were to change or correct that word, especially the one in blue, then we can say this one. Then we only need to say mother in law. And we put the apostrophe and the S. So my mother-in-law's house is directly across the street from ours. Fortunately, we have a good relationship with her and we all enjoy spending time together. So mother-in-laws. Remember we say that we put our apostrophe, right? Our apostrophe we put right at the end. It should be the last part of that noun. All right. And if we look at the next one, right? We already did that one. Yeah. It says Ethel Rosenberg's and Julius Rosenberg's conspiracy trial in 1951 was highly publicized and widely debated. While some Americans felt the Rosenbergs were victims of anti communist hysteria, others believe the husband and wife had indeed shared secret information with the Russian government. All right. And if we look at this one, right, then it means that we can only add one apostrophe and is, right? And that is to the second one, the second word. We don't have to add it to the first word. So it says Ethel Rosenberg and Julius Rosenberg's conspiracy trial, because both of their trials in 1951 was highly publicized and widely debated, while some Americans felt the Rosenbergs were victims of anti-communist hysteria. Others believed the husband and wife had indeed shared secret information with the Russian information. All right. So we see that in this case, it's going to be both of them together. So we put the only one apostrophe we're going to put there by Rosenberg's. So only one apostrophe. Remember, even if you have more than one things, right, we only add one apostrophe within the sentence. All right. So let us go to a test. So it says, my mother's in law house is directly across the street from ours. And if we were to choose the correct one, we say mother's in law house is directly across the street from ours. Fortunately, we have a good relationship with her and we all enjoy time together. So mothers. All right, so we can say mother-in-laws, mothers-in-law, mothers. Then we say Ethel Rosenberg's and Julius Rosenberg's conspiracy trial in 1951 was highly publicized and widely debated, while some Americans felt the Rosenbergs were victims of anti communist hysteria. And we were to choose the correct one, we would then choose option one, right? And I chose that just because that was a repetitive one that came up all the time. All right. Yeah, they're giving us the incorrect one, but it's going to be chief of staff. All right, now we're going on to identify the correct plural and possessive nouns. The correct plural and possessive nouns. Plural, we say plural, a plural noun, it names more than one person, more than one place, or more than one thing, right? That is a plural noun. And then we have a possessive noun, which shows who or what owns something or who or what has something. We need to then add an apostrophe and an S to a singular noun to make it more of a possessive noun. And we made an example of Matt or getting Matt's stuff, Matt's gloves. But when a plural noun ends in S, we just add an apostrophe only at the end of that word. And that is to make the possessive nouns. Oopsie. And then when a plural noun does not end in S, right? Then we add an apostrophe and S to make it more of a possessive noun. All right. So remember when we use an apostrophe, right? We either use an apostrophe and an S to something that is singular or something that is plural, but our subject there does not end with an S. If your subject is singular, and plural, sorry, and it ends with an S, like for example, boys, girls, right? And then you also forfeit it because now you need to only add an apostrophe. You don't add an apostrophe and an S, right? So to basically we say that when you have a plural noun, especially now when it comes to the the nouns, right? So if you have a plural noun that ends with an S, like boys or girls, then the only thing we do is we add an apostrophe to that word. All right. And there we have our apostrophe only. Let's go to our test. So we need to either find the plural or the possessive error, right? Remember, plural is where we only add an s to the word, right, to show that there is more than one. Whereas a possessive noun, it shows who owns something or who has something, and we add a possessive noun. We add in a possessive way. Have our um we add our apostrophe and our s to a specific word to show that this is a position, which shows position. All right, so we said we need to find the plural or the possessive error. It says during the debate, the candidates argued about education, taxes, and America's international standings. We need to choose the correct word, right? To fix a word that is not fixed, that is incorrect. And if we're going to choose a word that is incorrect, all right, so we can then say America because remember, we say America's international standing, right? So which means that we are making mention of America, right? So we can say it's Americas with an apostrophe and then an S, not an apostrophe afterwards. Bird watchers can find the red-winged blackbird in marshes and fields throughout North America. The bird's distinctive ocally call makes it easy to identify. And if we were to identify our correct word to either say if it's a plural or if it is a possessive noun, and then we can say bird watches. And this is the word that is incorrect. So we will just add an S because it is only bird watches. It shows more than one, not a position. And then Cornelius Vanderbilt was one of the richest Americans in history. The famous businessman's fortune was made in railroads and shipping. All right, we said Cornelius Vanderbilt. It says the famous businessman's fortune. So, which means that it is his fortune. And if we want to make mention of the fact that it is his fortune, then we need to say businessman's, which is an apostrophe and an S. Several recent studies have linked standing desks to improvements in workers' health. Due to these findings, many companies are now offering the employees the option to use standing desks. Options are given. So we can say several recent studies have linked. Oh, we already said standing desks. So they're offering all employees, which means that we need to remove that apostrophe because employees, it refers to more than one employer. All right. So we said employees because employees refers to more than one person that is working at the place. If we put our apostrophe there, then it means that we are putting emphasis only on that employee that has something or owns something. Although a wasp's painful sting can ward off some predators, insects and animals, ranging from beetles to blackbirds, still prey on the insects. All right, so we said although a wasp painful sting can ward off some predators, insects and animals ranging from beetles to blackbirds still prey on the insects. And we say although a wasps, because we're referring to one wasp actually, so that wasp stings, they are still preying on insects. All right, so that is the end of our lesson on apostrophes, right? When we said with apostrophes, we it shows either where someone or something owns something or has something, and then we add an apostrophe to that specific word or noun to show who owns something or who has something, right? And then when it comes to plural and possessive nouns, plural noun shows more than one thing, right? It's like example, we made an example of employees. It's showing that there are more than one employees. We're not putting specific emphasis on an or a employee, right? And when you put emphasis on or you show that one person or thing has something, we put an apostrophe there, which shows position. But if it indicates that this person or thing receives more than something, then we know that it is a plural noun and we only add an S. We do not put an apostrophe in its place. All right, so that is the end of our lesson. I really hope you have a good day further, grade eights. Till next time. Goodbye.